Hello. As I've mentioned in the past, periodically I'm just going to review a few articles that catch my eye, and I'll try to review them without notes in general. But yesterday I came across this article and just read the headline where it mentions in the headline 274 civilian Palestinians were killed. Now, when I read that, I have to admit I was ecstatic. I mean, truly ecstatic. I am not in any way, shape, or form ecstatic with any of the Palestinians' deaths. Don't get me wrong. Not at all. But in the headline, Reuters reported the number of innocent Palestinian lives that were taken at 274. As mentioned in their headline from Israel, finding and getting back 4 Israeli hostages who've been in captivity for 8 months. Yep, for 8 months. Anyway, obviously, that's not the story. So to the author of this article, I would like to know how on earth, truly, how was Reuters able to get that number? Furthermore, if 274 innocent Palestinians were killed, can you tell me the number of Hamas members that were killed in that group? Do you have a separate number for Hamas members that were killed? Was it 274 just innocent Palestinians, or was it 274 plus the Hamas terrorists? How did you get 274? And can you please provide the breakdown? Now, I believe I'm mentioning this longer than the actual how quickly you came up with the 274 from when the terrorists. Since the hostages were taken back. So I'm just saying you should have plenty of time to give us that answer. But here's why I'm over the moon excited. Because based on that article and based on how quickly Reuters reported civilian deaths, guess what? This tells me that Reuters can now help the Israelis pick out Hamas members in Gaza. It's brilliant. I don't know how Reuters does it, but who cares? Israel, who takes every extreme caution on virtually every target, because you have people like Reuters filming everything, they can now really, really expedite getting this conflict over if Reuters just tell the Israelis where they are. I don't know. Since nobody has asked the question, I guess I will. Reuters, or anyone at Reuters, including upper management, editors, and especially their journalists covering the conflict, my question is, where are they hiding the other hostages? So knowing you know where all the civilian Palestinians are, obviously you got to know where the hostages are. Let's look at the author of this article that Reuters agreed to post. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to look at anything else from the author, as I'm positive most of his articles are based on the 1,200 innocent Israelis and others from different countries who were brutally murdered, and the roughly 260 innocent Israelis and others from different countries that were fucking kidnapped. They were kidnapped, and since Hamas isn't letting any of them go free, then Israel has to go get them, you twits. When are you guys ever going to report the most obvious of obvious? If the Israelis weren't taken hostages, by your incredibly fast math, 274 innocent Palestinians that you reported would be alive today. Is this article supposed to tell the readers that Israel is not allowed to get their hostages back? Have you or anyone on planet Earth ever said that about another country in the history of countries? How about this title? Okay, you ready? Quote, Israel, with the help of no one, got back 4 of its own that were kidnapped, before Hamas ran out of time and just murdered them. The 4 non-military Israeli citizens didn't mention anything about innocent Palestinians that no one on earth can confirm. And we're just ecstatic. We're just fucking ecstatic to be back alive in Israel. I want to know how Reuters came up with 274 casualties that fast, and who allowed them to print it. Can you imagine if something happened to some staff members working at Reuters? Reuters understands that it would be Reuters' fault for allowing a group of terrorists to kidnap their own staff, and understand that those terrorists are the real victims. The real victims. Ironically enough, someone sent me a press release from Reuters. That, or maybe I made it up, but I'll go with quote, Reuters wants to apologize to the government of Hamas and its citizens, and Reuters pledges it will make a much more concerted effort going forward to arm its staff, ensure when its members are kidnapped that they will learn Arabic phrases such as don't shoot, don't set me on fire, don't rape me, etc., and have Reuters hire round-the-clock mercenaries pulling guard duty for all their staff worldwide, end quote. Furthermore, and this is unconfirmed, Reuters admitted that they would have implemented the, quote, please raise your hand if you are a civilian technique, which once was thought limited to the higher intelligence of school-age protesters' logics, end quote, although most or more likely all terrorist groups are going to murder them anyway. Hence the term being called a terrorist group. Personally, I just think Reuters is trying to get to the bottom of all this, and its staff are extremely enraged that Israel has even attempted to get their own citizens back, knowing it wasn't their right to. That's a side note. This is a rumor, not verified yet, but UNRWA and Reuters have agreed on a coloring book deal for all UNRWA classes up to the 5th grade. And there's a rumor going around that Reuters somehow talked the United Nations from making their rockets that they throw into Israel year-round the color hunter green from its current color of black. That's Reuters and UNRWA coming together. Let me just leave you with the obvious and something news reporters or those who write articles for companies and sell them. It's a great profession, not easy to do, and it's definitely not easy to hide your obvious bias in articles written over time. However, and please pay attention to this, if you are writing articles about one of those countries where you cannot distinguish the government from the military, from the civilians, citizens are most likely going to get fucked. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, a few more articles holding Hamas I would say 100% liable, but let's say by far mostly liable. Like for me, I'd go down to 98%. That's as far as I'd go. But for every death starting October 7th, why have they not been accountable for every death starting October 7th to today's date? And again, and I've said a million times that what they did, they knew would have a 100% Israeli retaliation rate. Okay? And so Hamas knew what they were doing that day. Murdering and kidnapping, the amount that Hamas did, again, would be akin to, on October 7th, the one day, it would be akin to over 42,000 Americans dying, murdered, and kidnapped in one day. And I'm pretty confident what the U.S. responses would be. Anyway, I could go on and on about Reuters and many other news organizations. It's people like you, whoever wrote this article, and Reuters. It's people like you and many, many other journalists who continue to do the same shit because no one holds them accountable. Any reason you haven't written an article about that? Thanks.